The elites running Hollywood and all of the major movie companies have finally bit the bullet and kind of accepted their fate. Movie theaters are not going to be opening at the pace that they wanted at this time, and theaters right now are just kind of a bust. Most theaters are still closed, and if they're open, they've got extremely strict social distancing rules. Now, we know that movies aren't making a ton of money out of theaters, and companies don't want all of their movies going to streaming services, so lots of major movies are now being pulled. The plugs on the releases are being pulled and swept from under our feet, and a lot of big movies have been delayed, like Morbius, Ghostbusters, Afterlife, The King's Man, and while some of them are only for half of a year or maybe a year, people definitely aren't happy, and I get why. We want to see new movies coming out. We want a lot of new entertainment when a lot of people are just sitting at home doing nothing. And unfortunately, new content releases have been few and far between. So I want to start off with this Wall Street Journal article. And then I want to specifically talk about a couple of movies that are now delayed. And all of these delays have happened in the past like 24 to 48 hours when I'm making this video. All of them were announced to be delayed all at once, so there's a lot to take in here. So this article says, your movie is about to be delayed again. It says, a fresh batch of films scheduled for theatrical releases in February, March, or April are now being postponed or sold to streaming services as cases of COVID stay at high levels across the country. Executives say to expect a cascade of rescheduling that stretches into the summer movie-going season. So this is where they start talking about how they think things are going to be delayed, because this article is from 1 or 2 days ago, before all of these major announcements were made. So I wanted to head to Twitter just to show you all the releases that have been announced that they're not coming out anytime soon. So the first one is Morbius, delayed to January 21st, 2022. The second one is The King's Man, has been pushed back to August 20th, 2021. This is actually a movie, just like Morbius, that I'm actually pretty excited for. I hope that these movies come out and be good. I thought that this movie was going to release and it wasn't going to have a lot of steam. I feel like this isn't the type of movie that a lot of people want to watch right now. This is the type of movie that could either be super popular or it could definitely fall into the ocean of mediocre movies, and I hope that it's going to be good. It's got a pretty damn good cast. But it's been delayed. The next 3 movies to be delayed, joining Morbius and No Time to Die, which we'll talk about in a second, Ghostbusters Afterlife moved to November 11th. This is huge. This movie has already been delayed twice. We are moving to its 3rd delay, and it's so disappointing because this was a movie that so many of us were excited for. And I think that their plans initially for Ghostbusters weren't to have it just be a single standalone movie, but the problem here is that it has been in production for years now. I mean, this movie was initially supposed to come out last year, and now it's not coming out until the end of this year in 2021. So this was filmed a pretty long time ago at this point, and of course they do have teenage actors who are going to be growing up and who are just evolving as actors in their careers. So who knows if that plan is even going to work out, if it was supposed to be a trilogy, if it could even be a trilogy at this point, unless they threw in some kind of like 5-year, 6-year time gap. So, Cinderella was also moved to July 16th, and the Uncharted movie was moved to February 11th, 2022. I haven't had a lot of hopes in the Uncharted movie. That movie has had so many problems already with director swaps and actor swaps, and we've heard about production problems. We didn't even know really when this movie was going to come out or if it was going to come out, so I hope that it comes out because Tom Holland's a good actor. I love Uncharted. I think that it could be good, but that was a movie that I think a lot of us are just kind of like, we'll believe it when we see it. And the biggest announcement that was delayed was No Time to Die. This movie has been delayed yet again to October 8th, 2021. Who knows when this movie's going to come out, because this movie's been delayed so many times at this point. It's just so disappointing to see all of these movies being delayed one after another. Now, I wanted to go back to the article for a minute, because it does point out a couple of interesting things. Now, even projections of a return by summer are considered optimistic in some corners of the industry, laying the groundwork for a pileup of unreleased films that shifts even more power to the streaming services that can distribute them without delay. The uncertainty is likely to hit the very much so struggling US theater industry especially hard, depriving them and surrounding businesses of foot traffic and further tethering consumers to at-home entertainment alternatives. Now, I seriously don't know how Hollywood's going to survive this, because they're choosing not to release their films in theaters to make some sort of money, and online streaming does them pretty good, but it's not the numbers that they want. So by not releasing those films and pushing them off by literally years, they're hurting themselves more and more. Hollywood is literally imploding in front of our eyes, and honestly, I don't really feel that bad. Tons of actors and directors have trashed fans of franchises so much that people like me, and I'm sure you, don't care if their projects go up in flames. They've done all of this to themselves. But it continues to say, if a majority of US theaters remain closed or at reduced capacity by May, it will jeopardize plans to release the year's biggest summer offerings, including things like Black Widow and Universal Pictures' F9. Both movies were originally scheduled for release last May, and they were pushed off until this May. With theaters closed, a number of coming releases have been sold to streaming services that are themselves desperate for fresh programming after months of COVID-related production shutdowns. The biopic, The United States vs. Billie Holiday, originally intended for theatrical release by Paramount in February, will instead stream on Hulu, a strategy that also allows it to be eligible for the 2021 Academy Awards nominations. Like I said, and like I've mentioned, there are tons of films right now being pushed back, being delayed, and some of them by like a year and even 2 years. It's very unfortunate that this is what's happening. As a consumer, it sucks to see. So let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video though, please make sure to give it a like and share it. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way. I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.